Hello and welcome to the Week 4 edition of the Coach's Corner on Leominster TV. I'm Todd Robbins, joined as always by Leominster High School head coach and athletic director Dave Palazzi as we get you set for Week 4 action, where Leominster will travel on the road to play St. John's play Shrewsbury in a neutral site game at Assumption College. We'll have more on that in a minute, but first we flash back to talk about St. John's, coach, in Week 3 action. A 42-14 loss on the opening night of their revamped Pioneer Stadium, and of course, right off the bat, Eamon Dennis runs the opening kickoff back 85 yards for a touchdown. How much does that change the scope of the game when you're 11 seconds in and you're down 7-0?
Changes it a lot. I mean, we went over that, not to kick the ball to 5. We got high school kids back there, and I thought Pablo kicked the ball on an angle and, towards the corner, and the ball just, kind of took a U-turn and went right to him. And, we got guys down there closing in on them, and we just got to wrap up. I mean, we got to sprint down, we got to wrap up, and we got to make plays. But that certainly wasn't the game plan to kick it to Eamon. And he's a great player, and he did what great players do. But, I thought that set the tone for them, and I was pretty frustrated at that. But with that said, we came back pretty strong after that.
You mentioned the wrapping up, and at times there have been points throughout this season where maybe that's giving you a hard time, either on defense or on special teams. It looks like you've got a play surrounded, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it looks like the play continues. Somebody appears, or the offensive player continues to move forward when it seemed like they were stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I just, particularly on the kickoff. I mean, I was thinking today watching the film, I think it was Texas A&M, they used to have the 12th man. Didn't they used to have the kickoff team where they just get student body, like animals, to run down on the kickoff team and just smash people's heads apart? I mean, that's really how it has to be in the kickoff. You got to sprint down, you got to beat that first line, you got to stay in your lane and just, head people, nose them up and make a play. But, we got to wrap up. I mean, they're a good team, but that definitely was a big play for them.
Statistics bear out the rest of this one, a 42-14 loss to St. John's. We'll take a look at the numbers here. You can see in total offense, actually in total yards, the numbers are fairly close. St. John's 384, Leominster is 326. Passing yards, obviously lopsided, 235 to 80. But then on the rushing side, Leominster leads that statistic, 246 to 149. 18 first downs for Leominster to St. John's 15. The one turnover going the way of Leominster. And time of possession is an interesting number, Coach, we'll talk about. Leominster possesses the ball for 29 minutes and 57 seconds of that football game to St. John's 14 minutes and 3 seconds, a 42-14 St. John's win. So they touch the ball, Coach, for less than 15 minutes of the actual clocked football game, and they rack up 42 points. Says a lot, obviously, about the power of their offense, but from a standpoint of ball control, you did what you wanted. You put the destiny in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a great game plan. I thought our offensive line, I thought our whole offense played really well. I mean, we didn't connect on some of the bigger plays, but I think our defense had stepped up in those, and then we were able to get the touchdown. But it's really frustrating when you're in a game like that and you give up a touchdown on a kickoff. They block a punt. We drop the bad snap, and then we have a quarterback fumbles the ball. We give them a short field, and they just have some big plays, a couple quick screens, a post pattern. I mean, we just we went over it in film today over and over. You got to close the gap with the receivers, and you got to stay in your lanes, and you got to come up like you want to hit somebody. I mean, you can't wait and hope they're going to run out of bounds or something like that. We have to be better, and we went over it, and we're going to coach the kids up. And St. John's has some good athletes, but I didn't think they did anything that we weren't going to be ready for. We have to physically make the play. We have to be a little better, and we have to get some guys that haven't played last year, that are new back there, that really have to make the play.
You mentioned how well your offense played. You also mentioned how well your defense played at points in that football game. And obviously, we talk about the opening touchdown. You then respond with a long drive, tie the game at 7. They come right back down the field to take a 14-7 lead again, and you respond again. What did you learn about your team from a standpoint of mentality? Like you said, they got themselves into some difficult situations and their teammates bailed themselves out. There was definitely some positives to take away, even though a 42-14 loss doesn't say a lot of positive things numerically.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, we don't have a lot of depth, really. We have a lot of our guys going both ways. And then, Brian Rodriguez gets hurt. He went down, and we lost our center, Anthony Tossi, in week 1. So, it's tough to have guys go in there and kind of back these starters up, but we've been doing it. But we're trying to get guys breathers. Justice Reynolds went down, and he was our corner. Now we can't sub out Adam Couch, and he's playing the whole game. And it just we're playing as tough as we can. I thought a lot of our players played very well. It's just those big plays, but it's not for lack of trying. We're going to keep playing. I think we have a good enough team that can win any of these games coming up. It's just going to be a matter of getting some breaks here and there, getting some big plays. I mean, we really haven't had some big plays of our own, and I think we did against Westfield in the first half, but we really need to get a few big plays in here and there to kind of set the tone for the game.
You mentioned the injury to Justice Reynolds. We'll cover the injuries while we're on it. Obviously, we'll need a status update on Justice, and then let's also talk about Brian Rodriguez. Had that scary-looking injury before the half, and obviously as time went on, people get more and more concerned, and then the kind of last second there, he seemed like he actually got himself up and was able to help himself into the ambulance of sorts. And so certainly it seemed like there was some positives that came out of it, but I know a lot of people were concerned, a lot of thoughts and prayers out there. Can we have a status update on both of them?
Yeah, I mean, Brian just has a concussion. We went into the concussion protocol, filled out the sheets and forms and everything, and he's going to be out for a bit of time until he can come back and gets cleared by the doctor. And Justice, I think he's going to be okay. I think he just tweaked his leg at some point and couldn't get back in the game. So that's good news. So we're just going to play it as it is, and it's the next guy up, and we got to get ready for Friday night. But hopefully we'll have Justice back at least.
Let's highlight a couple of things that we, from a player standpoint, saw in that game. We'll start on the defensive side. Kyle Philbin, 2 sacks in the game, got himself loose on a couple of occasions, and obviously I know that has a lot to do with what else his other teammates are doing to create that opportunity, but he found his way into the backfield untouched twice.
I mean, that's huge. If we can get an end like that, just wreaking havoc over there and putting pressure on the quarterback, and they got to double team him, and then we can have backers come free, I think you're right. That's going to be huge for us. And a couple other guys, I think Joe Conlon played well at times. Calladay played well. I think Connor Marchand and Couch were lights out. I think that's both the best games they've ever played in their career at Leominster. I mean, and we just had guys that, a lot of these seniors that have really worked hard in the summer and played really well. We just, again, we got to stop the big plays and create some for ourselves. But I think you're right. Kyle Philbin, had a pretty good game, and Jack at center, playing center, his brother. They're two very good football players. That they're only sophomores, but we look forward to having them the next few years.
Keep moving the center around on me. I got to keep an eye on who's in that center spot. Let's talk about Couch and Marchand. You mentioned they had the game of their lives. From an offensive standpoint, there was a point I can remember over the last couple of years when they were younger players. I could distinguish the difference between the two of them, and this speaks, I think, to somehow how they've matured and how their bodies have developed. It's harder and harder on the field to distinguish the difference between the two of them, especially in that split back set. Sometimes I'm like, wait, which one was that, 21 or 22 that went into the hole? And then you try to find who the other one who wasn't in the hole, that got swallowed up on the play. But certainly very determined running styles on both of their cases. You might say Couch is a little quicker off the first step when he gets ahead of steam.
Sure. I mean, he's a tailback. I mean, he's pretty shifty. I mean, he had some great runs. I mean, just putting his foot in the ground and making one cut and just trying to run by people. I think, and Marchand just ripping it up in there. I mean, we wanted to test the middle of their defense, and I thought our line did a nice job. We did that early, and often, and I think it kept them kind of off balance a little bit, but, we got to expand off of that. And again, that's where the big plays come in, and you're chipping and grinding. I mean, you can see the number of plays we ran. It's very difficult to have a 12, 14 play drive and score and not have something happen, not have a penalty, not have a bad play. So, you need to go downtown every now and then and get some of those quick scores. So, hopefully as the season gets a little bit longer here, JC can start connecting on some of those passes. I think we had some guys open, and we just got to shore up our blocking, and I think that'll come in the future.
You have a situation where it's a 42-14 loss. It will go down on the books, but perhaps some positives that you were able to take away from it. I think we've done a good job noting here. It will be a place to build from, and that's what I'm hearing. And you'll get another opportunity against Shrewsbury this week.
Yeah, I told those guys. I mean, my dad always said if you're going to mess up, you do it going 100 miles an hour. I mean, if they're unsure of themselves or they're afraid they're going to fail, you can't be afraid you're going to fail on the football field. You just got to go 100 miles an hour. It's not a sport where you can hesitate. He who hesitates loses. And I think we did that a couple times the other night. But again, these kids, they're learning, and we just got to get them ready to play and just play in all cylinders and play fast and play.
Egoism, if ever I've heard. If you're going to mess up, do it at 100 miles an hour. Let's take a look at some other scores from around the region in this week 3 of action. Wachusett hangs 42 on Algonquin in their battle. That was a road matchup. Doherty 14-0 over Tantascwa in a close game. Neshoba a 32-2 victory over the Red Raiders over at Crocker Field. Shrewsbury hangs 42 on Groton Dunstable. That same 42-14 number we saw in Leominster St. John's with a Shrewsbury victory over Groton Dunstable. And then Grafton puts up 41 on Shepherd Hill in a 41-13 victory. Some lopsided games out there in week 3 of action. Close one of the night we don't have on our graphic was a Clinton Hudson game. That was just a 3-point ball game there, a 13-10 game over there. So some close ones out there, but again, a lot of lopsided ones in this Division 3 matchup. As we turn our attention, Coach, to the upcoming schedule for Leominster, we mentioned, of course, the game on Friday night slightly changed. That game was originally, remember, scheduled for a Saturday. You see on the graphic now Friday night. That game, it says at Shrewsbury. It'll be played at a neutral site. Assumption College will play host to that game on Friday night. It will be a 7:30 kickoff at Assumption College, and we'll mention it again at the broadcast time. That means our countdown to kickoff on the K-Zone will begin at 7 o'clock on Friday night with our Facebook Live beginning at 10 minutes to 7 with that change. Shrewsbury's field just not quite ready yet, so their track not cured as of this moment, so they've got to move. They'll go to Assumption College for this one. Then it's at Doherty at Foley Stadium in the week to follow, and then the home slate begins in earnest with Wachusett, Shepherd Hill, and Algonquin back to back to back as we go through the month of October. And Coach, it's quite the gauntlet that you'll be looking down the barrel of there. It begins with Shrewsbury this week, followed up with Doherty on the road. The only benefits you can take away from this, and this is something you talk about quite often, is that there are 3 similarly styled teams back to back to back. They all want to go vertical and go downfield.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's doesn't really change for us. I mean, it does a little with Shrewsbury. They're a little tighter with the double wing gun stuff. They run some things that actually look like our plays, to be quite honest with you. So we get those dialed in, but we have to stop them. But they do some different things that we need to be ready for. So we got to gear it up and go through our reads.
I'll have the opportunity to do that as well. Let's go inside Blue Devils athletics. This is your time to put on the athletic director hat and get the updates from around. I know you were waiting on a cross-country update last week, and you now have a cross-country update.
That's right. So let me zip through this cross-country. Our boys and girls, they're 0-1, a tough loss to Shrewsbury last week, but some of the top runners we had in the boys, Jaden Cantuia, Jacob Soulier, Matt Healy, and Mitchell Jordan for the boys, top runners, and then girls, Erin Bosket, Merrill Warpala, Elena Woodward, and Maeve O'Malley. They're looking forward to their matchup against Wachusett tomorrow. In golf, our golf team ended with a 1-4 record after last week, losses to Neshoba and Westboro. As I mentioned, still co-captain Richie DeCarolis continues to lead the team with a 40.94 average, straight from Mr. Robichaud.
Yes.
While being the team medalist in 4 out of the 5 matches. This past week, though, we had Evan Philandes, Ryan Bolak, and Colton Sharon all made their varsity debuts for the Blue Devils. They're on their way with a busy week this week. Algonquin on Tuesday, and probably not going to get that one in, but matches against Westboro and Marlboro Thursday and Friday to close out the week. Field hockey team 0-4-1. However, Tam Landry has 50 saves with only giving up 5 goals in 5 games. So, I mean, they've lost 2-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and 0-0. So 3 1-0 losses, and just tough. I mean, Grace Adams on the offensive end, her shots on goal, creating most of the opportunities, but really the defense, Lexi Hahn, Kaya White, Mia Russo, Jenna Cherry, Ivana Kacheri, all contributing on defense. Our last 2, the boys soccer and volleyball. Boys soccer coming off of 2 big ties against 4th-ranked Wachusett and 2nd-ranked Algonquin. The defense and the goalkeeping has been tremendous. They've only given up 2 goals over the first 4 games, which is really good. I mean, they play their next game's top game against Marlboro. They're top-ranked Thursday night at Doyle, 7 p.m. Get down there and support our team. I think
Absolutely.
It's an exciting team. Our volleyball, same deal there. They're having a lot of success. They although they had their first loss Friday to Hudson, they're 4-1. Randy Wood, Victoria Stanton, and Hannah Collier are all making noticeable contributions off the bench. The team has 2 games this week, Air Shirley and Innovation Academy of Tingsboro, and both of those games are away. So that's really our recap of last week's, but really exciting things going on. Coach is doing a nice job. I've been at a few games, and the spirit is obviously there.
Particularly when you're going through those field hockey names, there's a lot of names there that I recognize from the girls basketball season, setting up a lot of 3-sport athletes, which is a really impressive thing to carry through. But of course, the diverse sports do a lot to benefit you as an athlete.
Yeah, we have to get there. We're some of our sports teams, they're playing hard. We just need some luck. We need to get that winning atmosphere going again. And, sometimes it's hard when you're young and you're trying to rebuild these programs. Field hockey, 3-1 goal game.
Yeah.
So, they're playing hard. The girls soccer is playing hard. They've struggled a little bit, but they're doing a nice job as well. Really working hard. They've had a lot of injuries. I think I forgot to read that one, but they've had 5 or 6 girls out, and they have some freshmen playing for them. But Gabor Romani's doing a really good job. He does a nice job with the girls, and they're playing hard. So we'll see how that goes.
And that's our trip around the facilities and inside Blue Devils athletics. Time to turn our focus to week 4 action in football. Let's take a look at the games on tap. We'll be keeping our eye on. Wachusett and St. John's have a battle, and they'll be coming up. 2 teams scored 40 points last week or more, so it should be an exciting battle there. That game will be at St. John's and back on the traditional Saturday as well. A number of these games on Saturday this week. St. Peter Marion travels to Doherty, a battle of a 3-0 versus an 0-3. Marlboro and Neshoba, there's a grudge match down in Division B in the Midwatch. 3-0, 3 wins, 2-0 in that one. Then you have an 0-3 Fitchburg team taking on a 2-1 North Middlesex team, much improved in the start of this year. And then you have Algonquin and Shepherd Hill, a battle of 2 1-2 teams there. Help shake out some more of Division 3 Central Mascoach. A lot of important games on tap.
Yeah, you got Ryan DeMar over there, Leominster offensive lineman coach in North Middlesex. So I'm excited for him. 2-1. He played for Coach Dubzinski, and when I was offensive coordinator with Mercier, he was playing with us. So I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, some good tilts. Marlboro and Neshoba, and you got some good games going on. St. John's, Wachusett. So we're gonna have to see how this all rolls out.
Shakes out. How do the numbers shake out? We go to week 4. It's Leominster and Shrewsbury taking each other on. Again, Assumption College, the site, the multi-sport stadium, right in the center of their campus. Should be an exciting place for action. Again, a 7:30 start with a 7 o'clock countdown to kick off. And Coach, we kind of got started talking about that Shrewsbury and Doherty and then Wachusett to follow on the other side of that. But when you look at Shrewsbury's vertical passing attack, it all centers around one guy. Easily, I think, not even arguably, the best quarterback in Central Mass right now. It's Drew Campanelli. He's been it year in and year out. He continues to launch the ball down the field. It's another week. We know who the quarterback's going to be. How do you stop Drew Campanelli?
Well, you got to get him in 3rd and longs. You have to. We can't let him get 4 or 5 yards on 1st down, and we really got to contain him on the outside and really, just put some pressure on him and make him make bad throws. He's done it in the past against us. We picked him off a couple times, and I think if we can just do what we need to do and we have a good game plan, pretty much we got to put it in. But I think it's going to be a good one, and hopefully we can get some tip balls or a turnover here and there and just try to contain him and try to control the ball on offense, keep it out of his hands. There's no better way to keep a quarterback like that, down than just eating the clock up on offense. So that's pretty much what we hope to do.
Like you said, stopping him may not be possible. You can only hope to contain him in some circumstances. You'll get that opportunity on Friday night. Their defense at Shrewsbury, always physical. They always want to play big up front. They always want to move you around a little bit, and they want to get some penetration into the backfield. No different again this year.
Yeah, they like to send people. They got the 4-3, cover 2 going. They've played some 3-4, 4-2-5. So they like to send people off the edge, and we really got to be ready for it. Hopefully we can take advantage of some of that and get some big plays. You hit it through the line when they're sending people. You get to the 2nd level, you could be gone. So, we just kind of that's what St. John's was doing to us in the 2nd half, and we kind of split the seam a little bit. But again, we got to block it up, and we got to be ready to handle some of the pressure.
With some of the scheduling changes here on the show, plus your duties elsewhere, it's going to be about 3 weeks until we get to talk to you on the other side into the middle of October. So as we look at these next 3 games, Shrewsbury this week, Doherty the week to follow, Wachusett the week after that, where are you looking for the marked improvement? I know in your mind there's specific things you want to see grow. What are those things you want to see grow over the next 3 weeks?
I just want to stop the big plays on defense. Obviously, secondary, we got to make some plays. I mean, we had a couple opportunities to pick the ball off the other night, and we knocked it down. We were there, but just take it to the next level. Play physical, offensively. We got to stop the penalties and the turnovers, and try to get some big plays. Try to get these these defenses on their heels a little bit, and just overall, I think we played tough and we played physical the first 3 games, and we've had some tough games, but I think we just got to build on that, and hopefully the lucky gods up there can send us some luck and get some bounces our way or something. I mean, it's not for that we're not trying. It's just sometimes it's we're playing tough teams and there's very, very little margin for error, and that's what the point I'm trying to make to our guys. I mean, we can't take a play off. I don't think it's important. We just say that's really I want to play, and I want to see some of our second string guys really support us too.
Neutral site is such an interesting thing when you are at a neutral location, and when I think about obviously in college that tends to mean a lot of distance between places. Not the situation necessarily you have here. You're only moving about 15 minutes down the road in the grand scheme, so it's still a school that's closer to Shrewsbury, but it's not their home. They had to change their home opening schedule. I know that's going to got to be a bit kind of a downer for them. It's going to change their crowd. It's supposed to be homecoming. It may not be homecoming. So a chance potentially for Leominster if they can get that 12th man to travel down there, where they can even the score a little bit down there crowd-wise and hopefully give the team a boost.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the crowd. I mean, our crowds are great. I mean, they love going to away games. I don't know what the theme is this week for the student body, but they love going to the games. We always get great support. We just, we need some breaks. I think it's just going to, once we get on the field, it's just going to be a football game. I don't really think it's going to matter where we're at, but I think it definitely helps with our fans behind us, and hopefully we can get some big plays and just feed off that energy and, ride it to the end of the game.
Indeed, that is what we will be looking for this week. Take a look at the broadcast information. Lots of ways for you to be a part of this one, as always. K-Zone's got our coverage lead on AM 1280 and 105.3 FM. Live streaming at WPKZ.net, and our Facebook Live look-in on the K-Zone begins at 6:50. That special start time, about a half an hour later. And then you move a half an hour later, therefore, for the countdown to kickoff, which will begin at 7 o'clock for the posted 7:30 start time, as we told you last week. We will get that game started at 7:30 and hopefully not a minute before if we can get some control on that. Leominster TV will be with us as well. Verizon's got your coverage, as does Comcast, on the posted channel there. And then, of course, replays are always available throughout the week and throughout the season on Leominster TV. The Facebook Live coverage will begin on Leominster TV at 7:30, or just about when the kickoff will begin for that one. Also coming up this week, we've got more in our celebration of 20 games for 20 years. We're back to the 2008 and 2009 seasons as we work our way backwards. So starting tomorrow night, Tuesday, September the 25th, it's Leominster and Holy Name from 2009. And then to 2008, Leominster and North Middlesex, and that is September the 27th. So that premiere coming up on Thursday. All the premieres at 6:30 on Verizon, Comcast, and on YouTube as well. So we'll continue as we count back through Leominster TV's 20 seasons of broadcast coverage. And we can also tell you that coming up in the weeks to come, we've got a classic countdown. That's coming up in the month of November. We will count back all 20 Thanksgiving Day games that have been broadcast right here on Leominster TV, beginning with 1999 in the beginning of November, and counting you all the way down, one right after another, night after night after night, all the way to this year's 2018 137th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg. So you're going to stay tuned in the coming weeks for that as well. Bill Thomas will sit in for Coach Palazzi next week on this edition of the Coach's Corner for Week 5 of action. We'll then have a hiatus for October the 8th, that being the Monday to follow, and then we will be back with you on the Coach's Corner on Monday night, October the 15th, and Coach Palazzi will be right there to join us as well. So we'll look forward to that. You can join us for Coach's Corner next week right here with Bill Thomas and myself. Kate will be with us as well. So we're looking forward to that coverage beginning again next week, 6 o'clock right here live on a Monday. Because if it's Monday, it's the Coach's Corner here on Leominster TV. For Leominster High School head coach Dave Palazzi, I am Todd Robbins, saying thank you so very much for joining us, and until next week, so long, everybody.